13 Unusual Recipes from the Ancient World. Good news for the gluttons of both mind and stomach. Since we invented writing, we love to write about food and drink, and today we can read countless recipes from the ancient world that have survived. Long before the evolving gastronomic trends to stay healthy in the corrupt industrial society of the 21st century, nearly all food items were reaching the table from the farm. However, in ancient non-democratic societies, the most elaborate meals were often prepared for monarchs and warlords. While archaeologists and linguists have found evidence of recipes or methods of cooking dating back thousands of years, cookbooks are believed to be a relatively recent, but still centuries-old, invention, especially in places without a long written history. According to anthropologist Arjun Appadurai, when combined with ideas of globalization in food production and consumption, these modern cookbooks appear not only to be part of the humble literature of complex civilizations, but to reflect their edibility limits and local ideological structure. 1. Human Stew, Aztecs 17th century AD, Olmecs 7th century BC. It is true that the Aztecs were famous for their chocolate drink Xocoatl, which greatly impressed European explorers. However, there is much more that we do not know about them. One of them is that they eat human flesh from time to time. In a 1629 treatise on heretical superstitions, Spaniard Hernando Ruiz de Alarcón mentions that the Aztecs ate tlaquetlali, human stew. According to his article, to make this dish, corn is first cooked and then some meat is added. Only salted meat is not particularly seasoned. There is also archaeological evidence of eating human flesh associated with the Olmec civilization, which lived long before the Aztecs. Archaeologists, who saw that some bones from the period were interestingly yellow in color, determined that they were cooked with annatto, a kind of gourd pipion or red pepper, which is used for the color of the bones. Although cannibalism is practiced by people all over the world for a variety of reasons, the earliest evidence we have of recipes that preferably includes human flesh comes from Mesoamerica. 2. Pork vulva sausage with herbs and pine nuts, Romans 4th century AD. An appetizing delicacy from Apicius, the cookbook dated to the 4th century AD, filled with recipes handed down from generation to generation by countless distinguished chefs, Vulvuli Botelli. To make this dish, you just need to mix pepper, cumin, leek, licorice and pine nuts and add this mixture to the pork vulva, which was considered a palate-pleasing delicacy at that time. Don't forget to fill your gut with the mortar you get, boil it in broth, and finally serve it with dill. 3. Black soup, Spartans 1st millennium BC. Although there is no exact recipe, it is known that Spartan warriors loved to eat molasses zomos. It's pretty simple to make. Pork, salt, vinegar, and lots of blood. Ancient writers believed that this dark soup served with figs and cheese, although not a very pleasant dish, made the Spartans brave. 4. Guinea pig stew with cayenne pepper and flowers, Incas, 17th century AD. The tradition of eating guinea pigs, cuy, dates back at least 5,000 years, to the ancestors of the Incas. Guinea pig teeth, discovered in caves at Machu Picchu, show that food made with the meat of this animal was eaten during funerary rituals. It is possible to find these animals in mummified human graves and even on ancient pottery. Although there are several recipes prepared with guinea pig meat, it is very difficult to say which is the oldest recipe. The Jesuit traveler Burnaby Cobo writes that in the 17th century, the Incas cooked a stew called carapulcra by stuffing guinea pigs with chili peppers, sometimes mint and marigolds. 5. Smoked shark, Vikings, 9th century AD. Hakarl, which is still consumed in Iceland today, is made from smoked shark meat. Shark is a food that is consumed in most places, but the problem is that it contains cyanide. Meat needs to be carefully processed to purify it from this poison. Although fish are usually preserved by processing and salting, it is known that in the past Iceland did not have enough wood to boil water and obtain salt. It is not difficult to prepare hakarli, which became very common in the 14th century. All you have to do is keep the fish buried near the shore until the meat is tender. 6. Steamed partridge from bread pot to spleen juice, Babylon, 2nd millennium BC. The oldest cookbook ever found consists of a 3-part clay tablet inscribed in Akkadian, dating back to the Hammurabi era, 1750 BC. The tablet contains 40 cuneiform recipes, most of them with few ingredients but quite complex to prepare. In order to make steamed partridge with spleen broth in a bread bowl, it is necessary to cut off the head and feet of the animal first and then clean it thoroughly. Then, milk, oil, mother of pearl, leek, garlic, onion and cleaned partridge meat are added to a bowl. After steaming them, a soft dough with grains, leeks, onions and garlic is prepared and divided into two. One of the pieces is placed on the sheet, the cooked partridge is placed on it, and it is baked again in the oven. Flattened bread is placed on the partridge baked in a bread bowl and served. If you say that it does not go dry, you can add spleen juice, which contains plenty of water, oil, salted spleen and milk, on the food. 7. Fried maggot and crab, indigenous Australians, pre-19th century. In the late 19th century, European colonists in Australia began writing cookbooks. Many of these books included recipes for Northern Hemisphere dishes prepared with local ingredients. However, a few also had recipes handed down by oral tradition from generation to generation, learned from indigenous Australians. In an 1895 cookbook, author Mina Rawson writes that many colonists were disgusted at even the thought of eating the white woodworms, wood-eating moth larvae, much loved by the locals, and compared these soft bites to oysters. In a later cookbook, there is a Nyoka crab recipe written in accordance with the local tradition. According to the recipe, the crabs are roasted over the fire and ready to eat when they turn from green to orange. By tradition, women are not allowed to eat Nyoka during their menstrual period to avoid snake bites or shark attacks. 8. Blue corn pancakes cooked with mutton spine, Hopi, 16th century AD. Hopi Indians living in North America are famous for their blue corn pancakes piki. The tradition of eating piki goes back at least 500 years. According to a recipe recorded by anthropologists after meeting with the Hopi, blue cornmeal, ash, and water are placed on a hot, flat stone lubricated with sheep's spines to make the pike. The stone is then placed on a fire made of juniper and cedar wood. Since it takes a long time to make from scratch, it is seen as an art and is often consumed in ceremonies. 9. Multigrain bread baked on human excrement, Israelis, 6th century BC. Take wheat, barley, broad beans, lentils, red wheat and put them in a bowl. Make your own bread from them. You will eat of this bread for 390 days when you lie on one side. Ezekiel 4 verse 10, eat your food like a barley flatbread and make a fire of human excrement and cook it in public. Ezekiel 4 verse 12. This recipe for multigrain auger bread takes its origins from the Old Testament. Eat your food like a barley pita and make a fire from human excrement and cook it in public. Ezekiel 4 verse 12. To prepare this interesting bread, wheat, barley, broad beans, millet, lentils and red wheat are mixed in a bowl and bread is made from this mixture. It is extremely easy to prepare, but the point is that the bread is baked in front of people over a fire made with human excrement. Of course, you have to eat while lying on your side. 10. Porridge, British, 14th century AD. One of the oldest cookbooks written in the English language, the For Me of Curry, was created in the 14th century by King II. Written in Middle English by Richard's head chef. The book, whose digitized version has been made available online in recent years, includes extraordinary medieval delicacies such as muser, an aquatic animal from the dolphin family, porridge. To prepare this dish, first some wheat is ground in a mortar, washed and then boiled with almond milk until it thickens. Muser, on the other hand, is served on a plate full of hot water or as it is if salted. The porridge, to which a little saffron is added, is served with steamed or salted mousse, depending on preference. 11. Natural Viagra of camel stew and asparagus with smoked bread sauce, Abbasid Caliph, 10th century AD. Ibn Sayyar al-Warraq, thought to have lived in Baghdad during the Abbasid Caliphate in the 10th century, compiled the oldest known Arabic cookbook, filled with recipes for caliphs or rulers. One of the most remarkable recipes in the book is the camel stew prepared with bin, a kind of sauce made from smoked bread. To make this dish, camel meat is cut into strips, including the hump. The hump is then removed, and the remaining meat is cooked in a pot placed over the fire until it dries up. Add crushed onions, salt, and the hump set aside. Finally, it is fried and flavored with vinegar, black pepper, coriander, cumin, fennel, and bin. Smoked bread is also pretty easy to make. The bread is left outside until it molds nicely, then mixed with water to make a delicious sauce. As a bonus, the book also includes recipes for making healing dishes. Natural Viagra made from asparagus is the most striking of these healing recipes. To make it, the asparagus is first boiled, then flavored with olive oil and smoked sauce, and finally served with a drink of asparagus juice, honey, coriander, rue, anise, and black pepper. 12. Sweet and salt mouse with fragrant rice, curry, Indians, 12th century AD. King of South India 3. Samshvara wrote a Sanskrit text called Manasilasa in the early 12th century AD. In this comprehensive encyclopedic work, the king covered many different topics from politics to astronomy, from poetry to food. Not quite a cookbook, Manasilasa offers some of the earliest evidence of what Indian cuisine was like before we knew the spices of the New World. There is also an interesting recipe prepared with black mice in the book. To make this dish, rats are fried in hot oil until their feathers fall out. Afterwards, the stomachs of the washed mice are cut open and their internal organs are removed, then they are cooked with a little salt and gooseberry. A little more salt is sprinkled on the cooked mouse and served with curry and cumin-scented rice. 13. Peppermint, peppery iris toothpaste, Egyptians, 4th century AD. Don't forget to brush your teeth after a delicious meal. The ancient Egyptians did not write down their recipes, or the recipes they wrote did not survive events such as the fire in the Library of Alexandria. Fortunately, we have an interesting recipe for how the Egyptians made toothpaste. To make toothpaste according to this recipe, 1 drachma, a Greek unit of measure, of rock salt, 2 drachmas of mint, a drachma of dried iris and 20 peppercorns are needed. The ingredients are first crushed and then mixed well. This recipe was found in 2003 on a papyrus next to documents in the storage of a museum in Vienna. Although the recipe is said to be pungent, it can be said that much progress has been made after the Romans' urine toothpaste. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and like.